I admire people that persevere and stand up for what they believe in. That's the kind of person that I try to be in my life. I was a shy boy growing up. There were four of us, four brothers, and we were pretty well normal boys, rough and tumble. We loved sports and activities like that. I remember in school, I was involved with a number of activities. I was actually in a number of dramas. I remember in elementary school, I played the Tin Man in one school play. Our family moved to another school district, and I actually ended up playing the Tin Man in a second elementary school play. So I guess I was typecast at a young age, apparently. I do believe I developed some leadership skills relatively early, because I remember I was a school patrol, which served as monitors in hallways and on school buses and that kind of thing to make sure students behaved. And I remember the principal appointed me chairman of the school patrols one year. So I felt proud about that. One of the things I distinctly remember that we did was every morning and afternoon we would raise and lower the U.S. flag. My parents stressed the importance of church attendance as we grew up, and the importance of faith in our life. And in fact, the most defining moment in my entire life took place in 1973 when I accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior at a Billy Graham crusade at the old Atlanta Fulton County Stadium in Atlanta. And my faith in God molds me and shapes me as the man that I am, and I seek His direction in everything I do in life. Eventually, I graduated with a bachelor's degree from Georgia State University. And as I think back about generations before us, including my father's, my late father, Charles C. Smith, Jr., he served in the United States Navy during the World War II era. And my parents, my mother's Evelyn Smith, they both instilled in me the desire and the value to try to make a difference in the community around you and to try to leave a lasting imprint. And so that's what I try to do in my life. And they definitely set a good example. Going back to the 60s and 70s, they were involved in political campaigns back then, stressing and working for their conservative beliefs. My first presidential election after I became of voting age was 1980, and I voted for President Reagan. And I've always been a strong admirer of President Ronald Reagan for a number of reasons. His optimism, his vision, his ability to communicate a positive message to people. And so in many ways he inspired me to get involved in the Republican Party. And in so doing, I basically worked my way up from the ranks as the years have gone by. I was the chairman of the College Republicans at Georgia State University, and on any number of occasions I butted heads with a liberal administration and quite a few liberal students at the campus newspaper. My most lasting memory of that experience is when I helped organize a rally in support of our troops during Operation Desert Storm in 1991, and it was well attended, and quite a number of media representatives were there as well. So as I've been involved in the Young Republicans as well, 18 to 40-year-old Republican activists, I've tried to make a difference. I founded the Lake Lanier Young Republicans, which was a group that was quite active in the 90s. And even after college, I worked with North Georgia College group of students to start a college Republican club up there. And as I think about President Reagan, one of the best memories I had of him was an up-close personal one. Bill Thorne, who was the executive director of the Georgia Republican Party in the early 90s, asked me to volunteer for an assignment. President Reagan was coming to Atlanta for a fundraiser, and I was tasked to drive Nancy Reagan's personal assistant around Atlanta for a couple of days. And I had an opportunity to work and interact briefly with the Secret Service, and that was a very memorable experience. But the most memorable thing about it was when I had an opportunity to go up to President Reagan's suite and meet him. He was a very kind and gracious man and very appreciative for my support of his visit. My desire to serve my country in uniform became a reality in 1985. I joined the Georgia Air National Guard, and I shipped off to basic training in San Antonio, Texas. And I'll have to say that was the toughest experience that I've ever been through, making it through basic training without any delays and on time and successfully. They instilled the drill sergeant's discipline, order, teamwork, and all the values that I think can help anybody in life as you go forward as a mature adult. And it was a very lasting and enduring experience in my life. And I feel proud to serve in uniform. And one thing I enjoy about serving in the National Guard is that for the most part, you can also serve as a civilian and go about your daily life, but also be a member of the military as well. So it's a great way to serve. After basic training, I went to Keesler Air Force Base in Biloxi, Mississippi to train to become a radar scope operator. And after I left that, I joined my home unit, the 129th Air Control Squadron in Kennesaw, Georgia, and was there for 11 years as a member of that unit. In 1993, I was ordained a deacon at my church. I was a member of First Baptist Church of Dawsonville at the time. Currently, I'm a member of First Redeemer Church in Cumming, Georgia. Dr. Richard Lee is our pastor. He is a fine Christian leader, and he's a man that understands the importance of Christians getting involved in their community and their government around them. And I greatly admire that. We as Christians have every right to be involved in our government, and we should be working for the principles that we believe in as Christians. And so I'm definitely in the right place to worship. In 1994, I was elected to the Georgia House of Representatives. And one of my biggest priorities was working for budgetary reform. I greatly admire Governor Nathan Deal because he was on board and led the charge most recently to create zero-based budgeting, and that's the concept whereby each agency's head in state government must review each fiscal year their budgetary needs and then present them to the General Assembly for scrutiny, and not assume that 80% of their budget is going to be automatically rubber stamped and passed on for the next year. I just believe also that we need to scrutinize our budget and ensure that pork barrel projects are eliminated as much as possible, making sure that we come forth with a finely tuned, even-handed budget that does not have a lot of waste in it, that the taxpayers can be proud of. And speaking of taxpayers, one of the issues I've always supported is the elimination of the state income tax in Georgia. We fundamentally need to be on the same footing as some of the other southeastern states around us because they don't have a state income tax, and in so doing, I think we're losing potentially citizens that might move here with their small businesses, and that's just going to hurt us in any number of ways. So I think to entice citizens to stay here and others to move here, we need to eliminate the state income tax in Georgia. When I served in the General Assembly previously, I never voted for a tax increase, and I was always working hard for the best interests of the taxpayers. In fact, I was one of the leaders that co-sponsored legislation that allowed for a constitutional amendment for school capital construction projects to be funded by a special local option sales tax if citizens in that community voted for it. And the ultimate result being that the taxes of property owners would be relieved to a great extent. I'm thinking about a number of other issues that I supported and was actively involved in during my first tenure in the Georgia House of Representatives from 1995 to 2003. I was one of the co-sponsors of the primary seatbelt law in Georgia. Highway safety is a very, very important issue to me. Most people, I think, that followed the General Assembly will remember that I was basically the point man for President Bush's faith-based initiative here in the state of Georgia. The concept being that the faith community knows truly the needs of people in our individual communities relative to social service issues, and if we can develop ways in which the state government and our faith community can partner together, I think we'll all be better off and funds can be used in a more effective manner. And that was the philosophy behind President George Bush's faith-based initiative. I was one of 3 Republican sponsors of some significant welfare reform legislation. In fact, we worked in a very bipartisan way with Governor Zell Miller. The basic intent was to create welfare reform legislation that mandated a date certain that people could not receive welfare checks after which they would not get them, and during that time that they did receive them, they must show that they're making effort to find a job or to be in some kind of educational program to better themselves and to make sure that they are self-sufficient. That opportunity came because the Republican-led Congress created welfare reform legislation at the federal level. One of the best and most important tenets was that the states could have a great deal of bearing in how they crafted that welfare reform policy, and that's where we came in. We met a lot of resistance from Speaker of the House Tom Murphy and other Democrats, but we managed to get it through the House and through the Senate, and many political observers consider that to be the greatest single accomplishment of a Republican minority in terms of public policy during that long period of Democrat domination of the General Assembly. In 1996, I was reassigned with the Georgia Air National Guard State Headquarters, and that's been a very rewarding experience for me. I've been involved with a number of responsibilities and tasks. And currently, I'm working under 2 Air Force general officers in strategic planning, and I've had a great deal of impact on drafting a new strategic plan for the Georgia Air National Guard and ensuring that it is a reality and not just a document that sits on a shelf somewhere. And in doing that, I've been able to travel to Washington, several southeastern states, Arkansas, North Carolina, to ensure that we have a working strategic plan that allows our military leaders to ensure that they are able to use our resources to the best of our abilities and to ensure that we accomplish our state and federal mission. Lake Lanier is a jewel of North Georgia, and I've always been a proponent of ensuring that the qualities of the water remain as clean as possible, and that we also do what we can collectively as a community, as elected officials, to ensure that our rights as North Georgians in terms of water quantity is preserved as well. I think that's very important for our future and for our way of life here in North Georgia. Here on the local front, it became very clear that Dawson County citizens were ready for a new form of government. We had a sole commissioner form of government here, and I was one of the co-sponsors that allowed the citizens to vote on a 5-person board of commissioners, which we now have in place here in Dawson County, and I believe that's good for a number of reasons. With the growth and the infrastructure needs and that type of thing, I think it's better that we have 5 individuals involved in making crucial decisions. I think it allows citizens dispersed throughout the county to feel that they have a voice in their individual commissioner, and I think it's been very effective to this point. Another issue that I worked with during my first tenure was the creation and the establishment of a literacy center here in Dawson County that allows us to work with adults that either are illiterate or need to go back and work to get their GED and to become ready to re-enter the workforce. And I was able to get some funding for that particular project. Now Speaker David Ralston, then a member of the House of Representatives, on senior citizen tax exemption for citizens here in Dawson County. I've also in the past worked for exemptions for farmers in the way of taxation, and I think that's had some very positive benefits here in North Georgia. Many folks will remember another responsibility that I had, and I feel very good about this as an avid reader, as somebody that is a big proponent of libraries. For 7 years, I served as chairman of the Dawson County Library Board, and part of that time I was also chairman of the library board for the wider Chestatee library system, which includes Lumpkin County and Dawson County. And in doing that, I led the effort and chaired the building committee that oversaw the construction of the new library building headquarters here in Dawson County for our library system. Writing is one of my great loves, and in fact, I've finished a novel. It's a Christian suspense novel, and it's basically a story of a young man who loses his true love in life, the woman that he loves, and through a series of adventures and peril and unpredictable twists and turns, he eventually finds his faith and accepts Jesus Christ as his Lord and Savior, but also finds another woman who helps him in his maturity as a Christian, but is able to help him overcome his grief that he had from the past. I think it's quite a story, and I'm excited to have completed it, and I hope to have it published soon. I'm also a member of the Dawson County Homeowners Civic Association. I think it's very, very important that citizens, through their subdivisions, through their homeowners associations, feel engaged in the community and feel that they have a voice in their local government. And we try to serve that function at the county-wide level with our homeowners Civic Association. I'm a member of the Dahlonega-Lumpkin County Chamber of Commerce and the Dawson County Chamber of Commerce. I know from my previous tenure in the General Assembly that the Chamber of Commerces throughout our states have a very vital function to foster prosperity of business in our community and to ensure the landscape is fair for big or small businesses to thrive and prosper. And part of what they do is to engage government at any number of levels to support legislation that does indeed create a strong environment for businesses in our communities. Recently, I finished 4 years as chairman of the Dawson County Republican Party, and I feel good about that time for a number of reasons. Simply our track record as a party. At this point, we can pretty well be rest assured that there will not be any Democrats running for office in Dawson County. That's how solid and strong we've become as a Republican base, and I think that's reflected through our strong Dawson County party. Also, during that time, I was the chairman of the party, and I think we all feel good about this as party activists. Dawson County delivered Governor Nathan Deal the highest margin of victory by percentage of any county in the state of Georgia in his gubernatorial victory in 2010. And part of being a strong party is to ensure that our candidates reflect the belief system we believe and work for as Republicans. And I was involved in creating what we call a candidate interview and qualifications committee. And the principle behind that, as we use it here in Dawson County, and other counties, parties in North Georgia are looking at implementing it too, is to have candidates come in who are running as Republicans to be interviewed and to talk about their candidacy to ensure that we as a local party can feel comfortable about why they're running and that they will indeed reflect the principles of our Republican Party up and down the line, our basic core beliefs as Republicans as they move forward in their campaign, as well as to ensure that they're going to stay involved in the party, win or lose. And then when we complete those interviews, we present a report back to the members of the Dawson County Republican Party as well as the public at large. I love the Tea Party folks. They are really inspirational to me. They have come forward at a time that we need people to, at a grassroots level, to get involved and make sure that their elected officials are accountable and actually follow through with the promises they make in the campaign season. And so I'm attending Tea Party meetings all over North Georgia to support that effort and to ensure that the Republican Party and the Tea Party can work together effectively for the good of all of us. In fact, the Tea Party leaders, and for other reasons as well, I've been inspired to go back to the original theme of my first campaign for the State House 20 years ago, and to embrace that theme again, and that is respect for the taxpayer. I'm going to be using that as my theme in this campaign season, and it simply means that we as candidates and elected officials must respect the belief system, the principles, and indeed the charge that taxpayers have given us as we're elected to be their voice, to do what's best for them back home, and that's what I'm all about as a public servant. I'm going to be emphasizing a number of issues in this upcoming election, and ethics reform is one of them. I think that we as elected officials must create an environment whereby the average citizen can feel comfortable that we are serving them and their needs and not the special interests out there. And just here recently, I attended a press conference at the state capitol, and I signed a pledge to support legislation in the 2013 session which would keep to a minimum $100 or less the dollar amount of a gift that a lobbyist can give to a legislator. We need to go down there with only one thing in mind, and that is to honestly support our citizens and to vote for what is best for our communities as well as the state at large, and that's what I'm all about, and I was very proud to sign that pledge. A couple of the other issues that I'll be emphasizing is creating an environment for job growth and expansion. We need to do all we can at the state level to ensure that there's opportunity for jobs out there for young people, whether it be students graduating from North Georgia College and State University, so they can stay in Dahlonega, Lumpkin County, and surrounding communities, and start a family and a career without having to move away. Or people that might be enticed to move here from other states. We need to give opportunities for businesses to thrive and sponsor so jobs can become plentiful. I think we'll all agree that public education is very, very important, and I've had an opportunity in recent years in a practical way to come forth with an even greater appreciation for our public school teachers. I've served as a substitute teacher in the Dawson County system, and I've seen what they're up against, the challenges, the love that they have for teaching. And I think that we need to do all we can as public policymakers to ensure that teachers have the resources they need directly in the classroom to be able to do a good job and to ensure that our students get the best education possible. Our forefathers set the foundation for a form of government, and I think it's incumbent upon all of us to be involved in some capacity. And the Lord has indeed blessed us here in North Georgia with so many things to be proud of, and I feel blessed to have been able to serve in the State House previously, and I hope you give me the opportunity to do that again. We indeed have a lot to be thankful for here in North Georgia. As I think about everything around us, the climate, the seasons of the year, the high school football games in the fall, the turning of the leaves, the fall festivals, attending plays up at the Holly Theater in Dahlonega, being proud of the cadets as they graduate from North Georgia College and State University. And here in Dawson County, certainly we have a lot to be proud of. The recent expansion of business, the North Georgia Premium Outlet Malls, and of course the great landmarks all around us. We have the Dawsonville Pool Room, the Racing Hall of Fame here that is co-located with Municipal Hall here in the city of Dawsonville. And I always love to go out and pray and reflect at Amicalola Falls. That means a lot to me. And in this coming election season, as I consider the opportunity to serve Dawson, Lumpkin, and Forsyth counties in the Georgia House of Representatives, I pledge to you that I will reflect your conservative values as I go down to serve under the Gold Dome. I ask for your vote and support. Thank you.